Hello friends, this is Dr. Srinivas Keshetti, Professor, Vice Principal and Head, Department of Physics, Shri Shivaji College, Parbhani. Welcome to another session on solid state physics. In the previous video, we have seen some basic concepts about the crystallography. We have studied what is a space lattice or point lattice, what are the translation vectors. So a space lattice or a point lattice is an arrangement of imaginary points in space such that each point is having identical surrounding. The meaning of the word identical surrounding means that the lattice has same appearance as viewed from a certain point R as it is viewed from certain point R dash in the lattice. So this is possible only when there is a pattern unit in the lattice which on continuous repetition generates complete lattice. So let us study what is a unit cell. So a unit cell may be defined as the smallest unit of the lattice which on continuous repetition generates complete lattice. It is the smallest unit, it is the smallest unit of the lattice, it is the smallest part of the lattice which on continuous repetition, if you go on repeating that pattern unit, it will generate complete lattice. That type of a pattern unit or that unit is called as a unit. In case of two dimensions, the parallelograms formed by translation vectors may be regarded as unit cell. In two dimensions, the parallelograms formed by translation vectors may be regarded as unit cells of the lattice, and in case of three dimensions, the unit cells are of the form parallelepiped. You just imagine the three-dimensional equivalent of a parallelogram. Three-dimensional form of a parallelogram is a parallelepiped. So this parallelepiped is a unit cell in three dimensions. The unit cell formed by primitive translation vectors is called as primitive unit cell. So we know there are two different types of translation vectors: primitive translation vectors and non-primitive translation vectors. A unit cell formed by primitive translation vectors is called as a primitive unit cell, and a unit cell formed by non-primitive translation vectors is called as a non-primitive unit cell. You can choose a primitive unit cell or a non-primitive unit cell to generate complete lattice. A primitive unit cell is the smallest volume cell. All the lattice points belonging to the unit cell lie at the corners, and effective number of lattice points per unit cell is 1. In case of primitive unit cell, all the lattice points are lying at the corners of the unit cell. There is no other lattice point. There are no other lattice points which are lying somewhere else other than the corners. So effective number of lattice points per unit cell is 1. Isn't it? So if you find out the contribution of each lattice points to the cell, you will find out that sum of the contribution of all the lattice points to that particular cell, unit cell, comes out to be equal to 1. So this is what is meant by effective number of lattice points per unit cell is 1. In case of non-primitive unit cell, the lattice points belonging to the unit cell lie at the corners as well as at other locations of the unit cell. In non-primitive unit cell, the lattice points are lying at the corners as well as at the other locations of the unit cell, and the effective number of lattice points per unit cell is greater than 1. In a primitive unit cell, effective number of lattice points per unit cell is 1, and in a non-primitive unit cell, effective number of lattice points per unit cell is greater than 1. This figure depicts the primitive and non-primitive unit cells in 2 dimensions. Parallelogram ABCD represents a 2-dimensional primitive unit cell. In ABCD, you will in the parallelogram ABCD, you will find that all the lattice points are lying at the corners, whereas the parallelograms EFGH and KLMN represent non-primitive unit cells. So, in case of KLMN and EFGH, this represents non-primitive unit cell. So, in this non-primitive unit cell, there are lattice points as well as lattice points at the corners as well as at other locations. In case of KLMN, you can see that there are 2 lattice points in the inner side of the parallelogram. Similarly, in case of EFGH, you can find out 1 lattice points at the middle of the unit cell. So, effective number of lattice points per unit cell in both the cases is greater than 1. An application of translation operation for some values N1, N2 and N3 takes the unit cell to another region which is exactly similar to the initial region, isn't it? On repeatedly applying the same operation with all possible values of N1, N2 and N3, one can produce the complete lattice. So, on repeatedly applying the same operation with all possible values of N1, N2 and N3, we can produce the complete lattice. So, this is the concept of a unit cell. Then we will see what is a Wigner and Cies primitive unit cell. There is a unit cell called Wigner and Cies primitive unit cell. How it is formed? There are 3 steps given to understand how Wigner and Cies unit cell can be formed or constructed, isn't it? First step is connect a given lattice point to all nearby lattice points by straight line segments, isn't it? So, consider any lattice point and identify all other lattice points nearby this lattice points which are nearer to this lattice point. Connect this particular lattice point. In figure you can see there is a dark black lattice point at the center, and there are other lattice points surrounding this lattice point, nearby this lattice point, and this central black lattice point is connected to all nearby lattice points by dotted line segments, isn't it? So, connect a given lattice point to all nearby lattice points by straight line segments. Then what we have to do? Draw normals at the midpoints of these line segments. Draw perpendiculars at the midpoint of these line segments, isn't it? So, and the third step is that the smallest volume enclosed by these normals, you can find that there is a volume, there is these normals enclose some volume, and the volume enclosed by these normals form the Wigner and Cies primitive unit cell. This is how in a 3-step procedure you can form a Wigner and Cies primitive unit cell. The volume of this primitive unit cell, Wigner and Cies unit cell, is V is equal to modulus of A dot B cross C, where A, B, C are fundamental translation vectors. Since there exist number of ways of choosing unit cell, the choice of conventional unit cell is a matter of convenience, isn't it? So you can choose, there are number of ways of choosing the unit cell, as we have seen in the previous slide. There are one ABCD is a primitive unit cell, EFGH and KLMN are non-primitive unit cell. So you can choose any unit cell, whether primitive unit cell or non-primitive unit cell. It is a matter of convenience, whichever you can choose. You can choose whichever unit cell to construct the lattice, isn't it? It is a matter of convenience. Then let us try to understand the concept of basis. Till now we have studied the arrangement of imaginary points in space, but the crystal structure is concerned with the arrangement of atoms and molecules. It is not concerned with the arrangement of imaginary points. So what is meant by a basis? A basis is an array of an array of imaginary points in space arranged in such a way that each point is having identical surrounding is called as a space lattice, isn't it? An array of imaginary points in space arranged in such a way that each point is having identical surrounding is called as a space lattice. A crystal structure is always described in terms of atoms rather than points. So when we describe a crystal structure, we describe the arrangement of atoms and molecules. In order to obtain a crystal structure, a atom or group of atoms must be placed on each point in a regular fashion. So we have seen while studying the space lattice, the space lattice or point lattice forms a framework on which actual crystal structure is based, isn't it? So in order to obtain crystal structure, an atom or group of atoms must be placed on each point in a regular fashion. In the space lattice, at every lattice point you have to place an atom or group of atoms to form a crystal structure. Such an atom or group of atoms is called as basis. So this atom or group of atoms which we are going to place at each lattice point to construct a crystal structure, that group of atoms or a single atom is called as the basis. This basis acts as a building unit or structural unit for the crystal structure. So this basis acts as a building unit or a structural unit for a crystal structure. The lattice combined with basis generate crystal structure. So lattice forms the framework, and placing a basis on each lattice point generates a crystal structure. Mathematically it can be expressed as space lattice plus basis generates a crystal structure. So lattice is a mathematical concept, whereas a crystal structure is a physical concept. The generation of crystal structure from two-dimensional lattice and a simple basis is shown in figure. So let us try to understand the crystal structure, how it is formed from a space lattice and basis. On the left side of the figure, a lattice is shown, which is an arrangement of imaginary points, isn't it? Immediately after the plus sign, a small basis consisting of two atoms, one a solid dot and another a hollow circle. This is a diatomic basis. The basis consists of two atoms represented by a hollow circle and a solid dot. having orientation as shown in figure, isn't it? So the orientation is shown in figure. The crystal structure is obtained by placing the bases on each lattice point. So if you place this basis, diatomic basis consisting of two atoms on each lattice point such that each lattice point coincides with the center of the basis, isn't it? So we have to place the basis in such a way that the center of the basis coincide with the center of the lattice point, isn't it? So in this way a crystal structure can be generated, which is shown on the right hand side, to the right hand side of the arrow, isn't it? So lattice plus basis is equal to crystal structure. The number of atoms may vary from 1 to several thousand. In the basis, number of atoms may vary. It may be monoatomic basis or a multi-atomic basis. Basis may consist single atom or more than one atom, or thousands of basis may consist thousands of atoms also. So the number of atoms may vary from 1 to several thousand, but the large number of space lattices possible are only 14. But there are limited number of space lattices. Only 14 space lattices are possible, isn't it? So large number of crystal structures can be obtained from only 14 space lattices because of different types of bases available, isn't it? So basis, there are thousands of bases, but there are only 14 space lattices, and combining this 14 base lattices and thousands of bases, you can generate large number of crystal structure. Large number of crystal structures are possible. The basis may contain single atom. It makes it a monoatomic crystal, like copper is a monoatomic face centered cubic structure. In case of copper, it is made up of, the basis is made up of a single atom. So it is a monoatomic face centered cubic. We will study what is meant by face centered cubic in the subsequent lectures. So basis, what I want to emphasize upon is that the basis may contain a single atom or more than one atoms. Complex bases are found in biological molecules. In biological molecules we find complex bases. There may be thousands of atoms in a single basis, isn't it? So we come to the end of this session. In today's session, we have studied what is meant by a unit cell, what is meant by a primitive unit cell, what is meant by a non-primitive unit cell, what is a Wigner and Siege cell, how a Wigner and Siege cell can be constructed, and then we have studied what is meant by a basis and what is the difference between lattice and basis, isn't it? So we will study the subsequent articles in the next session. Thank you very much.